Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Presented by Great Southern Bank, Labor's Local 663 Doak Propane, and Grant Baker, your shelter insurance agent in Aurora. We go down to West Plains, Missouri. Welcome to the show, head coach of the Lady Zizzers, Scott Womack. Coach, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks for having me on and getting to talk a little bit about the girls.
And Coach, you're 55-6 over the last two seasons. You do lose Mackenzie Brunson, who's a very significant part of that team, but you return four starters, including all conference players, Ashton Judge, Alyssa Joyner, and Georgia Osborne. And Joyner, I believe, was just a freshman a year ago. Talk about what you've got coming back.
Well, losing Mackenzie was big. I mean, she's been the heart and soul for at least the last 4 years, and we won a lot of games with her. And the thing was, last year we had two seniors. She was the only starter that we're losing, and it's kind of unique this year. We've just got one senior, and so we were really young last year. When you looked after she went out in the state championship game, we're playing with a junior, sophomores, and freshmen, and so I think they gained a lot of experience. And so we had 10 girls that played in the state Final Four. And so, we had 11, but we got 10 of those girls coming back. So a lot of girls with some experience that have a chance to maybe have another successful year. Of course, we're going to be led by Ashton Judd. I mean, she's I would say a 4-year starter, but her freshman year, she broke her foot and was out for the year. So she's had a great 2 years. She's sitting right at 1,000 points, and she's really raised her game to a different level, and you're going to see her at the next level playing. And she led us last year at 18 points, 11 rebounds a game, broke the school record in rebounds for her career, which was Corinza Barr's record. And in a game, she had 20. She went 26 and 23 in the championship, the Pink and White Classic, 26 points, 23 rebounds, and broke that record. And so she's an all-around player. It helps us on both ends of the floor. But like you said, the freshman Alyssa Joyner really came on last year for us as a freshman, and she's a scoring threat. Ended up being all district and honorable mention all conference, averaged about 9 points a game. We're gonna have to count on her a little bit more to score for us, and she did this summer. And she's gonna have to rebound for us a little bit better. But she's a really good athlete, and so we're counting on big things from her. And as you said, Georgia started 32 games at point guard for us last year. She did not get to play at all this summer. She had a meniscus problem, so they sat around all summer long. But it enabled some of the younger girls. We have an Olivia Lawson, a freshman from last year. There'll be a sophomore that got to play the point guard all summer long, and she just went leaps and bounds. So I think that's going to really help our depth. Zoe Williams, who stepped in for Mackenzie when Mackenzie, tore her knee in the Final Four, and she's one of those that brings us toughness and can just do everything on the floor for us. So we're counting on her a lot. And then Drew Harris has been a 2-year starter for us. Not much of a score right now, could be this year, but does everything else right for us, and very good on the back end of our defense, and does a good job rebounding for us. Then we got a couple of shooters, Kaylee Dixon and Mary Claire Gahn, that can shoot it for us. So we feel like we have the potential there. And then last year, another freshman post player that we were really counting on to maybe help us, tore ACL 5th practice of the season, and she's back this year healthy, and so adds a little bit more depth behind Alyssa in the post position, and kind of a different player than Alyssa, but we feel like there's a lot of players there that can contribute this year.
Well, absolutely, and it just seems like you guys just reload every year. You're always in the mix of it in the conference. You're always in the mix of it, in the district championship. And you personally, you're 565 wins right now as a coach by my count. And I'm a PE teacher, so I don't know that count. You may have more than 600, but 565 is kind of where you're sitting. But it always seems like you've always got that mix of underclassmen where you're not ever really have you ever graduated 5 starters?
I don't know if we have. Even when we won state a few years ago, it was 4 seniors and had the 1 junior. So, you're right. Usually every class has a little bit, so you don't have to just completely reload. You lose some really good players, but you're hoping those other players will step up. And I've been fortunate that that has happened, that other players have stepped up and did things for us. 2 years ago, we lost 3 seniors that we really thought, oh, how are you going to replace them? We just came off the 27-2 year with losing to Carl Junction, who was undefeated in the state tournament. And everybody was like, how are you going to replace those 3 seniors? And, people like Georgia Osborne and Zoe Williams stepped up, and Drew Harris and just stepped right in. And Ashton Judd took her game to another level, and she went from averaging 10 points a game to 18 points a game. And that's what it takes. It's just, I always say, you don't have to just, go from averaging 2 points a game to 20 points a game. That's not happen very often, but everybody just picks up a little bit here and there, whether it's on the rebounds, scoring, defense, whatever, then we can make up for whoever we lost.
Visiting with West Plains Ladies Zizzers head basketball coach Scott Womack here, Missouri Basketball Coaches Hall of Famer and Coaches Association Hall of Famer. And coaches, you look at the conference, and the Ozark Conference is tough every year. You had a very good Kickapoo team a year ago. Parkview every now and then will sneak in. Hillcrest struggled a lot last year. They've got a new coach. Kind of handicap, that conference from your point of view.
Well, Kickapoo's always the bar that you look at there, and they finished with 3rd in the state, I believe, last year in Class 6, and we were 2nd in Class 5. So not very many conferences probably had 2 trophy winners in their conference, and so that they've always been the one that you look at. And in our district, Rolla was seeded number 1 in our district last year, and got beat in the semifinals, and so they're going to be back. I think they have everybody back from last year's team, and they may have lost one, but they got the core back. And Lebanon has had a couple of move-ins this year from a very good team that was very talented last year. So they're going to be right there in the mix. And, Bolivar coming into the conference has made our conference a lot tougher too. It just adds another team. But Waynesville is going to be athletic. I know they got the sophomore that all the colleges are looking at. And so every night that goes our conference, it's going to make you better. And we've been fortunate that we've been in the mix. I think we've won 4 of the last 7. I think it's either been us or Kickapoo, basically. And we've had some really good games against them, and it's probably going to come down to that again this year.
Coach, how much longer do you think you're going to do this? I mean, you're what, 1987?
1987. I didn't take over the head coaching job till 91. And I get, that's the $1 million question. Everybody asks me that every day. And I'm just telling them right now, a year at a time, as I enjoy what I'm doing. I love these girls. They really have bought into the program, and I enjoy coaching them each and every day. And, so I just each year look at it and see if I'm ready to go back. Right now, I'm still healthy and enjoy doing it, but I know I have that option at any time. I can walk away, but right now I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and we'll just see where it goes after this year.
Coach, what changes? What were maybe some of the biggest changes you've seen since that first year of 1981, or maybe even as an assistant coach in 87? What are the biggest changes that happened in the last 34 years?
Well, first of all, girls basketball, the athlete, there's just more athletes out there, and it was my first year as a coach, and I think, or in 88 or 89, I believe it was, that the 3-point arc came in. And so back then, there might be one girl on every team that can shoot the 3, whereas now you might have all 5 of them can shoot the 3. So that's changed the game. And then I've always said, when I first started, it was everybody just sat back in the 2-3 zone. Very few teams played man. Cheryl Burnett kind of, started a new trend when the Lady Bears were going in the mid, early to mid 90s, and everybody was running and jumping, and everybody started doing that. And it's kind of funny, it's circled back around to where we're seeing a lot more zone, especially it's more of a matchup, a more athletic zone, but it's kind of went full circle again. You still have those man teams, but seeing a lot more of the zone type things. And a lot of that's because the athletes have got so much better, and they're hard to guard. And so it's kind of just went full cycle, and I was one of them that had to change. I was strictly a man person, and in our first state championship, that's what we were playing. And now I went to a matchup zone, and it was my decision came in the early 2000s when I went out, looked out there against the Kickapoos and the Glendales and people like that. And I said, I can't match up day in and day out, every game with them, and I've got to do something. And I got to change something. And it's been a good change for us. The kids have bought in, and that's what we kind of focus on, is the defensive end of the floor. And if we're good defensively, I feel like we have a chance to be successful during the year.
Coach, when you first started, who were some of the coaches that you kind of leaned on, or maybe you tried to copy their style or really influenced you? It may have been a high school coach, or it may have been someone you coached with.
Well, Jim Middleton, of course, was one coach that I even worked under that had a lot of influence on me. And of course, he got me working Cheryl Burnett's camps. So I got to be around Cheryl Burnett a lot. But at those camps, we'd work the individual camps. And Kirk Chronister, a Hall of Famer from Poplar Bluff, I think he's got 800 wins. Brad Gaines, a Hall of Famer from Oak Grove, he's got 600 wins. Those were guys I really talked to a lot. And then over the years, the Gary Murphys, we had battles over the years. And at that time, we were kind of playing the same style. He doesn't like me now because I switched and went to the matchup zone. But anyway, Gary Murphy was one of them that I really had a lot of respect for. So there's just been, a lot during Stephanie Phillips when she was there, and Sue Schubel was at Kickapoo when I first started. So she was another one that I always looked up to. And then Nyla Millison also was another one. So there's been a lot that have been there, but Jim Middleton was probably one of those that really got me involved in girls basketball.
Coach, if 2021, Coach Scott Womack could go back to 1991, Coach Scott Womack, what advice would you give him?
Play a matchup zone a lot quicker. It's made it a lot easier for me. I feel like some days I look back and I go, well, I could have won a lot more games if I could be doing this at that time. But the other thing that I probably learned over the years is just to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more positive. I think of that 90s, most coaches that came out tried to be more like Bobby Knight. They wanted to be that screamer, and that works. Don't get me wrong. And but I found out, especially in the girls basketball part of it, and these days with kids, is the more positive you are with them, and the more you develop those relationships of with that kid, the more they're going to produce on the floor for you. And I probably, my first few years was just a little bit too hard on some kids, and if I could go back and be a little bit better that way, I probably would.
Well, Coach, they always seem to come back. I know you've had several former players as assistant coaches, and they always come back to the Lady Scissors. But Coach Womack, I certainly appreciate you being generous with your time here today, and best of luck. And I know we'll catch up during the season. Thank you, Guy. I always appreciate how you keep up with the Lady Scissors and promote us, and we'll be glad to talk to you anytime. You bet. Scott Womack, West Plains Lady Scissors. You're listening to and watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be right back.